Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel. We're finally back after this dreadful international break. Finally back. Obviously, I was here last Saturday with Simon Phillips to talk some transfer news, but we're finally back talking about actual Chelsea games, even though the title and the thumbnail mostly revolves around transfer news again. But, Chelsea are back tomorrow with the early kickoff against West Brom. And to discuss all of that, I am, from the get-go, joined by a very special guest, Mr. Craigo 28 Football, Mr. Ian. Bro, how you doing? It's been a little minute. How was the international break?
I actually quite enjoyed it. I like just changing it up. As much as I love the Premier League football, I feel like there's been a lot of it on, and you watch a lot of the same teams all the time. And then actually watching this was actually quite nice just to break it up. It wasn't necessarily we won 3 games, England, but it wasn't a particularly enjoyable international break for us. I still thought we were quite boring, but it was nice to see, France play. I don't really get to watch France play, or a lot of these kind of players play, so they end up on telly. It was quite nice, just a little change of scenery. It was all right. It was all right.
Exactly, that's what it is. You just watch a few different things. Like, obviously, I watched the national team, even though we got spanked by Denmark, and drew against bloody Scotland because John McGinn decided to score an overhead kick out of nowhere. But exactly, like how's that happening then? But we moved. Took a little break. Which every now and again is needed. I mean, we go full send pretty much all season long, but especially between the last international break in November and now, it's like full send. It really is full send. So, but here we are. We're going to discuss a load of different things today. Obviously, Erling Haaland's agent, Mino Raiola, meeting with Barcelona and Real Madrid yesterday, and is set to meet with 3 or 4 different clubs in England this week, including Chelsea. So that's, we're going to discuss that for a little minute. We're going to discuss the Sergio Aguero rumors, maybe. Obviously, the Timo Werner situation. We're going to maybe touch on what happened on social media and how we feel about that whole drama that escalated a little bit, in my opinion. And obviously, it's dreadful miss against North Macedonia for Germany. And then, of course, most importantly, we're going to discuss Chelsea against West Brom, which, of course, like I said, happens tomorrow afternoon or midday or whatever with the early kickoff. And I guess we started off because I know Lewis is kind of talking about that. Lewis, by the way, guys, will join us as soon as his stream finishes. So because I see that it was his title and stuff, I suppose we could maybe start talking about that because, he already gave his thoughts on that. What do you make about the rumors with Sergio Aguero? Obviously, it was last week or a couple of days ago confirmed by Man City that he will leave them at the end of the season. There's been rumors by reliable sources that he has received multiple offers, including one from Chelsea, apparently, alongside, I think, Barcelona, PSG, and maybe 1 or 2 other English clubs, other than Fabrizio Romano confirming that the Manchester United rumors were wrong or were a lie or whatever. What do you make of that? Would you take Aguero? And under what circumstances would you take Aguero?
You should have taken him 10 years ago. To be honest, you should have taken him 10 years ago. It's just like Higuain, we got him at the completely wrong time. We're probably going to get Aguero at the wrong time. But I think the thing for me is I don't, with Chelsea, I want us to be able to play in different ways. And I like that when we play with, Havertz at the moment is kind of our starting number 9, even if it is a false 9. He's our kind of more established number 9 now. I like the fact that we can play him. And then if we need to play Timo Werner down the middle, it's probably not perfect, but it's a bit more pace, a bit more of that kind of element. And then if you want to play either Giroud or Tammy, a bit more physical, a bit more height, whip some balls in the box, hopefully. It's another style. Where Aguero is the very much walk-it-in style guy. And when I say that, it's not a discredit to him because we all know, he scored a hat-trick against us in about 5 minutes. He's got different finishes in his locker. Do you know what I mean? He's got different finishes and he's not going to be a one-trick pony. He is probably better at helping, move the ball and play a bit more kind of passy possession-based football. But he has got an end product. And I think there's a lot of rumours going around. The only one I've really seen with any sort of traction is us, and that he wants to stay potentially in the Premier League. And it makes a lot of sense because he's made a life for himself here in England. Obviously, it would mean moving from Manchester down here, but still, it's things are still similar. Like his kids will be in the same kind of years at school rather than having to change and go all over the place. It could be a bit of a problem. So I like the idea of getting him. I don't like the idea of having 4 strikers. But yeah, I don't see Giroud or Tammy Abraham. One of the 2 is going to go in the summer, and I don't know who it's going to be. I don't think it'll be both. I think they'll try and keep Giroud. If my money's on either one of the two, I think they like Giroud because he is so different. You know, you can lump the ball up front to him. You know, big, strong, good in the air, got that aerial ability. It's, you know, it's just a different style. It's a different way of playing. Where Tammy Abraham, I mean, I know you're a fan of his. I am. I just think that what he does best, other people could probably do as well. And I just think that Giroud maybe gives you a little bit more, and also the experience as well, because we have got a very young squad, and we saw the impact that Thiago Silva coming into the team can have. You know, do we potentially need a forward that's got that experience and been there, done it before, and hopefully he can help out, you know, Erling Haaland, please, if we get him. Yeah, that would be great. I still think we should try and go for Haaland, but it's not exactly a bad position to be in if Sergio Aguero wants to stay in England and not many clubs are going to be able to afford his wages. So it makes sense. But again, I just would have preferred if we signed him 10 years ago. I can't lie.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, Aguero is a weird one because to me, he shouldn't even be mentioned as a instead of Haaland solution.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? Like, go for
yeah.
Haaland. Obviously, everyone has their opinions on if we don't get Haaland, is Lukaku a good option? Some people think yes, some people think no. Hey, you know, that will always be up for debate because he was a bit like Marmite when he was in the Premier League. But I keep referring to this stat. He has more Premier League goals than Didier Drogba. He can't exactly be shocking. Like, it's not possible. And if anything, he's probably improved, you know, both diet-wise, physically, because Inter Milan have realised, Manchester United are idiots. Took about 2 weeks to lose, 10 kg or whatever, because they were like, you just don't eat that and you lose the weight that you've been trying to lose at Man United for the last 2 years very quickly. And the Aguero thing is, I 100% agree. Like, I don't want necessarily 4 strikers. I just don't see Werner as a striker, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm probably with you on it. However, people will look at us and think that we've got 4 strikers, even if we don't see it as Werner playing down the middle is a real option for us anymore. People elsewhere will still look at us and think that we've got 4 strikers. But I don't know. I mean, to be fair, I mean, off the top of my head, I remember Man City when they won the league in 2012, they had 4 strikers. They had, they had Aguero, Tevez, Balotelli, and what was the other geezer's name? Dzeko. Of course it was Dzeko. Yeah. And they signed the guy off.
And then the year after, Tevez left and they got Jovetic instead. So they still had 4 strikers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then they had Negredo as well at some point. It was another one. They've always had, you know, an amount of strikers. I just think it's a tough balance to try and get it right. I think one of the big things for me is it all depends of, and you might know the numbers a little bit better than I do. Giroud is about 3 goals away from being the all-time French top scorer or something like that, isn't he? He's not far off.
I don't know how far exactly. I know he's second though. I'm pretty sure in the list.
I'm pretty sure it's single figures, and he wants to play for France, which is completely reasonable because he obviously wants to go and break that record. Doesn't mean, let's be honest, if you're 5 or 6 goals away, you all would, wouldn't you? You just carry on, keep going for him as long as you can. But you know, the thing for me is if he gets that record at the Euros, which is very possible to be fair. If he gets it at the Euros, he could afford to play for Chelsea and not be worried about, am I going to get in the team? Am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? You know, that's his career starting to wind down. And he has the odd moment here and there. Thanks very much. Cheers. You know, fan favourite kind of player. Where at the moment, the longer that drought goes on of him missing that record, you just have a feeling that he's going to always want to be starting every single week. And that's not something that Chelsea can offer. And it's not a lot of places that can offer that. It probably would actually have to be abroad for him. If we could get that, I mean, obviously we can't do anything, but if that record is out of the way and he's got it and it's great, then he can just focus on being happy. And I think I have a feeling that in a sense that he is happy in London, his family are happy in London, and he's happy at Chelsea on a decent wage that I think if he were to go elsewhere, they certain teams would probably be able to pay it, but they would demand him to play every single week, and they'd be not that happy, and then he wouldn't get the same performances out of him.
Depends on where he'd go. Like, I don't think in Europe many teams would meet his wage demands. I think to have similar wages to us, he'd probably have to go to the US. I don't see him going to China, especially in the current world climate, right? You'd probably have to go to the US. You know, maybe he'll join David Beckham. You know, maybe they'll do Beard Gang or something over there.
That'd be good to be fair.
Yeah, if he went back to Montpellier, obviously, where he won the Liga, which is basically kickstarted his career, you know, many years ago, they wouldn't meet his wage demands. Let's be honest. Could he be backup striker at PSG? Yeah, he probably could. But
yeah,
the one argument I will make is because the World Cup 2022 obviously starts in November.
Yes,
and then obviously we stopped the season like in October. I don't even know. Does anyone know how this is going to work out? Like, are we just going to play Premier League from August till September? Are we just going to play a month of Premier League? And then
I have a feeling it'll be like 2.5 months probably. They'll get rid of all the international football before that, and they'll just throw it at the end of the season probably, or they'll average it out some way. They'll probably finish in like June because what else is there going on? You know what I mean? They just finish it in June, like the whole Premier League takes a break for a month or something. I don't know, but
it's usually, when we have the summer tournaments, they meet up for like a month before.
Yeah,
and the tournament starts in November, so that means they'd meet up mid of October, early October, and before that we start the Premier League usually 15th of August. This is usually when the Prem starts, and then you have like August and September, and then just like regardless of how that happens, it's basically just a year between the Euros and the World Cup. So I think even if he beats the record, I think because he said it's so close, he could probably feel like he could keep his body strong enough and edge it long enough to make the World Cup 2022 as well. Yeah. So I think that could be playing a little bit of a part with him. If it's not, then I fully agree. But it might do.
Also as well, France haven't got many strikers like him. So they probably would actually like to keep him around unless one appears out of nowhere, a big 6'3", 6'4" centre forward. But I mean, how easy are they to find, especially at national level as well?
No, 100%. I mean, they could always call up Gignac, who plays in Mexico. He's probably the closest thing to Giroud that they have. But he must be like 30 plus as well. I don't know how old he is. I just always see him popping up with a team of the season on FIFA. I mean, the rest of the world or whatever every year because he must score like 30 goals every year there. But fair play, he's living his best life there, eating tacos every day. Why not? But I have a little theory on the whole Aguero thing because you mentioned the kids there. I mean, I could be wrong, but watching the City documentary a couple of years ago, as far as I'm aware, him and his wife split up a little while back, and his wife moved with his kids back to Argentina. And I think the documentary also made it sound like that he doesn't really have many friends either. I think his best mate is like Romero from Man United. So like, I don't really know, and I'm not trying to say, Aguero, no one likes Aguero. But my logic is Barcelona really want to keep Messi. Messi and Aguero are great friends. Barcelona don't have a striker. It makes sense to me that Aguero goes to Barcelona.
They're related, aren't they, in some capacity?
Yeah, of some sort. I'm not sure if they're related, but I know.
Is it
Messi's Aguero's son's godfather?
Yeah, and they were going. He's married to Diego Maradona's daughter, or something along those lines.
Exactly,
there's like some weird connection between the three of them. Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. At least that's what Instagram accounts always tell us. I never fact check.
Yeah, that's very true.
But yeah, so that's my theory on this. And yeah, just for that reason, I'm like, obviously there have been rumors that he wants to stay in England, but I'm like, he's been here for 10 years. Whenever I see him do interviews, half the time he still prefers to speak Spanish. So does he really want to stay in England? And like, I'm not 1,000% convinced about this.
Yeah, because I think, to be fair, I mean, I remember definitely there is a quote saying that Aguero said he's never going to leave Man City until they win the Champions League. And I hate to say it.
You never know, they might do.
I generally do think this year they're going to win the Champions League. I just have a feeling that it's all set up perfectly for them. But, if that is the case, if you've won everything that you can potentially win, what really are you going to achieve from playing in England anymore? Because naturally,
be honest, unless we get Haaland for a team that's less likely to win the Prem than City.
Yeah, it's a bit strange because if you've won everything, like he's won the Premier League 5 times, something stupid like that. He's won the Premier League 5 times, and then you 4 or 5, I can't remember. He won it a fair few times.
Yeah,
and you look at it from that point of view, think, well, he's already won the Champions League. He's definitely won the League Cup. He's definitely won the FA Cup. He's won it all in England. If he turned around and just once in his career managed to win La Liga, even for one season at Barcelona, how impressive does that look? Even just for 1 year.
And I've done it in this league,
and I've done it in that league, and that's it.
So if he manages to stay fit, he will start for Barca.
Yes, he would, because they haven't got
the thing.
all else. They've got no one else.
Yeah, exactly. But it would be such a Barca thing, wouldn't it? Sell Aguero to one of your biggest rivals, not Aguero, Suarez, even though him and Messi were kind of your guarantees for, success. And then you bring in Aguero, who's equally as old, just more injury prone a year later. That'd be such a Barcelona thing to do.
It would be very much a Barcelona thing to do.
Yeah, no, exactly. By the way, big up, Father, for the donation. Big up yourself. Appreciate it a lot as well. Everybody watching right now, appreciate all of you guys. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. We're still on the road to 10K. Let's make that happen before the end of the season. So be sure to subscribe. That'd be absolutely brilliant. And smash the like button. Yeah, no. You have to tell the people. You have to.
What do you mean end of the bloody year, end of the season, end of bloody April? What are we on? We're on the 2nd, didn't we?
9.06 or something.
Yeah, that's fine. That's chill. You do that.
Exactly.
Cup final win against Man City. That'll boost the views. Bloody love it.
Exactly. What Ian said. Let's hit 10K by the end of April. Why not? Go on then. But make sure you smash the like button. YouTube likes because then it says everyone loves this, so we have to show it to more people. So the more of you guys that go down below and smash the like button, the better. So that'd be brilliant. If you want to become a member, there's a join button underneath or a link in the description. If you're on what's the word? Can't think of it.
Come on.
On the phone, because then there is no join button. And of course, use the super chat function if you want to support the channel, but of course, you do not have to. We'll get into, a couple of the things that, Thomas Tuchel spoke about and everything else as well. Pat Stowe, appreciate you as well. Will you guys talk about our starting lineups for West Brom? Also, big ups to Span. Of course we will. I mean, first and foremost, that's what we're here. We're kind of just talking about a couple of rumours before Lewis gets here, basically.
And I guess Pat Stowe one about it says, "Hi Laurenz, hope you have a good stream." Can you go on that little comment there?
Yes.
Do you know what flag that is?
Is it Danish?
Oh, there we are. It's one to look up. It's one to look up. I know what it is. I'm not going to tell you.
No. But is it an actual flag like that, or is it just a normal flag, black and whitened?
No, it's black and white. Is the colours of it.
But then I don't know.
So you got to do your research. I know where you're from.
Nah, I don't believe this at all. I'm very good with my flag.
It is.
Never in my life seen a. But is it a country or is it like a region?
No, it's a region.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, then I let myself off. Then I let myself off. But Flyers, big ups yourself, by the way, has asked, is Haaland really meeting Chelsea reps? And yes, it sure seems he is. To just run it down quickly for you guys. Yesterday, Mino Raiola, obviously, who is Erling Haaland's agent and Erling Haaland's dad, I forget his name, something like Alfie or whatever, were in Barcelona in the morning and then took a plane from Barcelona to Madrid. So they met with both of these lot. Not the longest of talks, and it's not like, they were discussing to finalize the deal or anything. They were just having initial talks, if that makes sense. And this week, reportedly, reported by people like Fabrizio Romano and reliable people anyway, them two are going to meet representatives of clubs in England, of Chelsea, of Liverpool for some weird reason, and also Manchester City. Obviously, some people are talking about Manchester United as well. So that's happening. They are talking to people. Obviously, if you guys saw the stream last week, I was talking to Simon Phillips, and he said, kind of Chelsea have already been in contact with Raiola, maybe not as a personal meeting. Obviously, with the global situation, that's less easy to do than, say, usual. But that's the story anyways, that we are already in contact with him. That's kind of already been talks like, okay, if we find an agreement with Dortmund, we already have basically spoken about what are going to be the agent fees, what are going to be the wages. We kind of have things not agreed, but mapped out a little bit. So we have a rough idea. Is that even worth going for us, for us, if that makes sense? But what do you make of that anyway? I'm not sure whether you and I have spoken about Haaland before anyway. First of all, not even do we want him. Obviously we want him, right? Everyone wants him. But how big of a chance do you give us in getting him?
I think it's tough. I was just on my phone there trying to find out the Fabrizio Romano thing of exactly when we're meeting him or whatever, but I couldn't find it. I think of all the English teams, we have probably got the best chance because the comments that were made by Raiola about Guardiola previously gives me the impression that deal is not off the table. Of course, it's never off the table because, this is business, but it looks like it could be unlikely. And I think it's it's one of those ones. There we are. It's one of those ones that is of the English teams. I look at Man United and think, have they got a chance to sign him? Yes. Do they probably need to sell a fair bit to get him? Yeah, probably as well. Because I mean, Martial is a good option for them up front. Then they've got Rashford. You've then got Bruno Fernandes. They're never going to sell him. So you're kind of looking at Martial or Rashford being moved on to be able to cater for him, because the other one's not going to be happy playing second fiddle. Where I feel at Chelsea, it is the only one where it's really going to be almost a like-for-like swap. I would see Tammy Abraham or Giroud, either one of the two, going out, and then it replaces by Erling Haaland. It makes the most sense from a team point of view. Only difference with potentially them and other teams, I don't think they ever mentioned Arsenal. Just saying that.
Well, obviously.
Because, I mean, it's funny. Liverpool never really mentioned either. They'll probably meet with them because, I mean,
Liverpool can probably genuinely not afford him.
They should be in for him. They should be able to.
But, I mean, I see United finding a way to afford him. I just don't think Liverpool can.
No, I agree. But I think it would be spoken about, because I think Liverpool have got a little bit to sell to then bring in someone like him. Because, I mean, if they turned around and said, yeah, we don't want Bobby Firmino because we can go and get Erling Haaland, then they turn into an absolute machine again. But you don't know what's going on in their heads and whatever, because you doubt that Bobby Firmino would want to play second fiddle anyway. But I think the one that makes the most sense of all the English teams is Chelsea. Now, that's probably because, again, we are Chelsea fans, so we're probably a little bit biased, but I do think it makes sense overall. We have lacked a goal scorer for quite a while. We've got people that can play up front, but we've lacked a serious goal scorer. And I think the impact that could be had by Haaland coming into this team would be astronomical. And I think that Haaland doesn't want to become a player who plays in a system that plays for, Guardiola. He's one of these people. What's going on, Les?
Yes,
I just don't think he turns into that guy. Where at Chelsea, he is still the guy. And I think he probably needs to make one more step before going to a Real Madrid or a Barcelona or a huge side where he becomes the man on a consistent basis. Because we're all talking about, Mbappe and Haaland are the next Messi and Ronaldo, and this is going to be the journey for years to come. But Mbappe's doing it for Paris Saint-Germain. He's doing it, and he's only going to go to big places, where Haaland has done it at, he's done it at two clubs that aren't at that level. Do you know what I mean? So if you take that step, he could make the jump right now going on to Barcelona, but then he becomes one of many superstars. He probably needs to become the absolute superstar at Chelsea or a club similar to Chelsea and then move. Because, if you think in terms of purely based on size of the club and what we've achieved and whatever down the last 10 or so years, Chelsea are probably a bigger club than Borussia Dortmund are.
Oh, yeah,
in terms of squad and because of whatever. Fan base is a different thing, but in terms of everything about the club, Chelsea are a bigger step up from Borussia Dortmund. So I think it's more of a natural stepping stone, because I still think he's going to end up at one of the big boys regardless. But if we can keep him happy for so many years to come, then maybe he gets into a position where he really is just going to go and go and go. And I still think that we are the best stepping stone for that.
Yeah, I'd agree. First of all, welcome, Lewis. It's been a little minute, bro. How have you been? We've discussed a bit of Aguero. I see that you spoke about that on your channel, so I thought let's discuss that before you get here. And now we're talking about Erling Haaland, bro. How have you been? How was your international break?
Long, but we're here. We're finally back at the point where Chelsea are playing every week, so I can enjoy it. Yeah, it has been a while. I'm glad you guys are doing well too. Well, I hope you guys are doing well as well. Yeah, Erling Haaland, this has become a really big debate about what striker we're looking for next season. They're looking at, I'm hearing news now, we might be interested in Belotti.
Yeah,
there's Aguero, there's Lukaku. Really, I feel like we could even see two strikers come in the summer, potentially see two leaving. I'm on the case, though, that I think Erling Haaland is just a bit too much money and isn't proven enough for me to go all out for him right now. And I low-key would rather we go for a Lukaku, if I'm being honest.
For 120 million euros?
I think he's a lot more experienced and he'd hit the ground running quicker than Haaland would. I think Haaland would need another year or two to adapt. And if you're spending 150 million plus on him, including whatever BS agent fees that Raiola will have in there because he knows he literally has the whole of Europe eating out of his pocket right now. He has to win us the league title. He can't have any. Well, he will be allowed the odd error or bad game here and there, but he can't have a season like Werner is having. I don't think he would either because he is more clinical as a striker, but I think it's more about the all-round game. I think Bundesliga is a much more open league, and in terms of the games that we play, there's a lot more space for the players to deal with. I haven't seen Erling Haaland against low blocks, and I also don't believe he could single-handedly drive us to victories. I feel like he'd be good if you feed him the chances on a plate, but if you put him against a low block, he'll struggle. If he has to be the one to carry us out of a bad spot, I think he'll struggle. I look at Norway's games in the international break as an example, just got pocketed in every single match. And granted, Norway isn't really the greatest of international teams. But again, 150 million, you need an impact. You need instant impact. And I don't think we get that from Romelu Lukaku's already done it in the Premier League. Has gone to Serie A and he's gone better.
Just quickly, Lewis. Rowan, this was an April Fool's joke. He's not actually asking 600k a week. Just to clarify that. Go on.
Yeah, what was it? The only thing I heard from Manchester United fans is that he could never do it against the big sides. That's cool, but that just tells me he can unlock low blocks and that he can do well against the smaller teams. That will work for me as well. He's much more of a big game player now. He's shown that in Serie A with Inter Milan too. I just think he hits the ground running quicker, and I think that's what Chelsea need right now. We've got enough young players who have the potential to get better. We need experience around that now too, and I think that Lukaku's coming at the perfect time.
I think
obviously what you heard about what you might not have heard what Ian said before or when you just joined us is that we might kind of be a little stepping stone between a Dortmund and say a Real Madrid or Barcelona. But my hope is, and what I think Chelsea's hope is for us to, with Haaland, make that step to be on that level with Barcelona and Real Madrid. And someone like Haaland would help us elevate to that level, while signing Lukaku would not. Just because he's not that name that just puts fear into strikers and hit the ground running thing. I see where you're coming from, and I know he's only 20, but the guy scored a hat-trick on his debut when he only came on after an hour for Dortmund. So, hitting the ground running has so far in his career not exactly been Haaland's problem. Like I said, he scored a hat-trick in half an hour in his first ever game for Dortmund. And that was a Bundesliga game, not some random cup game or whatever. So I see what you're saying with the hit the ground running. But for me, Lukaku, at least reportedly, won't be enough cheaper than Haaland to warrant that difference and that difference in ceiling, if that makes sense. I see what you're saying in terms of what he gives us tomorrow. I might not necessarily disagree. But I just think Haaland is so good, and we also just that statement it will make if we could actually beat the likes of Real Madrid, Barcelona, Man City, Manchester United.
Yeah, but wasn't that meant to be the statement last season with Havertz?
Well, just do it again. Make another statement.
Fair, yeah.
I know it's just another statement. We know what that's capable of, but yeah, I get the name Erling Haaland, but that's why I also don't want to jump off like that because we did the exact same thing with Timo Werner last season. We have to really look at this sort of transfer. And I think with Erling Haaland, if he doesn't hit the ground running with us, we're spending 300 million in 2 seasons. We have to contend for the league as a minimum. And that's why, for me, we need someone who can bang right now. And it's not to say Haaland can't. If we're going to talk about adapting, when he does adapt to Premier League football, he's still going straight to the top. No one's even disputing that. He would be an amazing centre forward. But it's just the time he would take to adapt. I don't think we've got that patience right now. Or I don't think we're looking for that patience right now.
So would you risk missing out on him completely and having him go to a Man City or a Man United, just the 2 teams come to the top of my head, and then miss out? Because the only reason I say because it is a big transfer fee, let's not lie to ourselves. It's a massive transfer fee. But from someone who knows about how much money clubs make from shirt sales and different things in general and branding and whatever, is we will make back the 150 million euros. So it'll be about 130 million quid, something like that. Ballpark figure. We would make that back within the first month, easy. I'm pretty sure Man United made back 89 million on Paul Pogba within the first.
Yeah, but how much actually goes to the club and how much goes to the brand?
A lot of it goes to the brand. I can't lie, but there is a fair percentage that does go to the club, and that.
Yeah, also,
you're saying they sell that many shirts that even that short percentage gets to it.
Yep.
That's ridiculous. All right, cool.
Yeah, that is first. No, firstly, it is ridiculous, but you can't even just look at shirt sales and merch sales. Like just the marketability of the club takes such a huge step if you sign that kind of player. Like everyone's talking about him and Mbappe as the next Messi and Ronaldo. While I fully agree with the comment that we had earlier that Messi and Ronaldo will probably never be matched, let alone beaten, replaced. But still, the next sort of the big two. Whether they're as good as them doesn't really matter. Once Messi and Ronaldo retire, we'll need the next big two. Just as before Messi and Ronaldo was Kaká and Ronaldinho and Zidane in that, right? So we'll need that next level. And if he's one of those two, the kind of marketing value is unbelievable what that could give him. And I totally see what you're saying. Like I said, it depends. Say if Lukaku was less than half the price, I might be edged to agree with you. But because he's said to be around 100 million as well, I don't think that difference is enough to warrant that. If that makes sense.
You're going to make the money from Haaland, and even if it doesn't work out, because I see a few people back it in the comments, if he doesn't work out at Chelsea and he's not quite the player that we hope he could be, we are still. It's only going to be. We'll probably get the money back for it in terms of what we're going to be able to sell him for, even if it is a loss in terms of the actual figure. We'll make money elsewhere that will make up for that. So I think it's completely worth the gamble. Where with Lukaku, if that is it, and he don't hit the ground running in the Premier League, you ain't going to sell him back to Italy for 120 million euros. That ain't going to happen.
Okay, yeah. I understand it in the case of resale value as well, because the guy is going to go to the top, whether it's about whether you have the patience for it or not. And we can all agree on that too. For me, I also understand as well where you're saying that Romelu Lukaku might just be not cheaper enough for him to be a viable option. I get that too, and I don't know. This is why it's really such a tight debate to go between the pair of them. For me, it's just more that I feel a lot more assured that Lukaku would start well, and I feel like if he succeeded at Chelsea, we wouldn't really need to worry about this sort of conversation either. I also feel like with the type of body that Lukaku has, I feel like he could really age well. Like one of my worries with Lukaku too is that he'll age too early because he started playing football regularly around the age of 16, regular first team football. And you've seen so many times of players, if you start early, you finish early. But with Lukaku, I feel like with the type of player that he is, he could be a really good option for us, even if he did age. I don't think he'd age badly. I don't think he'd be washed completely in that sort of sense. He'd age like an Olivier Giroud, in my opinion.
That'd be nice.
Maybe not quite like that, because he still does depend a little bit on his pace, not his acceleration, but his like sprint speed. If we're talking in FIFA stat terms, I see what you're saying. First of all, big up Kafka's view, a man of his words. We had a discussion on Twitter the other day when he said, like, what was it? Because some outlet tweeted that Conor Gallagher stands a chance of making the Chelsea first team next season, and he said, bet a fiver that Tuchel doesn't even know who Conor Gallagher is. I'm like, obviously he knows who bloody Conor Gallagher is. And then in today's press conference, he kind of confirmed that. So a man of his word, donated the £5. Appreciate it a lot, bro. Big ups to yourself. And everyone check him out on Twitter and YouTube and everything. And just quickly, a couple of things that I want to add for a couple of comments that we saw in the comment section already, in terms of why would he go to Barcelona? Why will he go to City and this and that? What, like Ian mentioned earlier already, comments have come up on Mino Raiola, and like he said, they're not gospel, right? He might go back on his word. But not only did he somewhat rule out Man City, he kind of also somewhat ruled out Man United. You know that the relationship, because he is obviously Paul Pogba's agent. So we know, and Romelu Lukaku's agent, and that didn't exactly go that well either in the end, right? So he's like, if I don't ever make a deal with Manchester United again, calm, no problem for me. And, said what he said about Guardiola, basically he hates his guts, right? And I personally still don't see how Real Madrid and Barcelona can afford Erling Haaland this season. I just don't see it. I just cannot see how that's physically possible. Barcelona, I think, could if Messi leaves. But I think Barcelona will prioritize keeping Messi over getting Haaland.
I think they could put Jovic in the deal or something like that.
Yeah, but Jovic is not even the best striker at Frankfurt right now. Like, will that make a big enough difference? Like,
has he fallen off? Because last time I heard he banged 2 when he returned. I haven't really seen much.
He did, yeah. But Andre Silva, like the other striker, the Portuguese lads, he's like on 20 league goals or something. And Jovic either doesn't start or kind of assists goals for Andre Silva, who bangs goals in every week. And this doesn't mean Jovic is now awful, but it's just not at the crazy level in his career that it was a couple of years ago. Like I see that,
like he was last time.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like I see what you're saying. I just don't see. I just think it's much easier for us to pay everything that Raiola wants, everything that Dortmund wants, and just be lucky that Raiola and City or Pep don't get on. And also that I feel, especially if Spurs don't make top 4, I see a chance of Kane finally leaving Spurs. And I think City would prefer would prefer Kane over Haaland, just because of similar things that you mentioned with Lukaku.
Kane's going to sign a new contract.
You heard that?
Yeah, like this is what Flav's been telling me the whole time. Like even
did the Daily Mail report that?
Ornstein's. What?
Did the Daily Mail report that?
No, not the Daily Mail. I think
the Daily Mail.
No.
If he wants to ruin his career, if he wants to ruin his career, have fun, bro. Like if he wants to be a laughing stock, he can score all the Premier League goals he wants. If he never wins a bloody trophy, then he's just a failure. A huge.
Well, that's Alan Shearer. It's Alan Shearer, but Alan Shearer won the Premier League.
Yeah, exactly. That's one difference.
And now he's just on Match of the Day. That's it. That's his career. Cool.
Exactly. At least he tweets funny things sometimes, you know. I guess that is that. Like I said, and the one other thing I will say is because Lewis compared it to Werner, you know, how we hyped that. I think it's a different level of hype. And also, Haaland is just physically actually suited to play here. I know what you're saying about the Bundesliga and it's open. And yes, he might not get quite as many goals because no striker probably will. Also, Lewandowski wouldn't get as many goals in the Prem as he does in the Bundesliga, I don't think. Still would be top goal scorer, but not quite as many. That's all I'm saying. But Haaland is actually suited to it. Like he's 6'3", 6'4", something like that. He's massive. He's super strong. He's super fast. Like he's everything you could possibly ever want from a top-class striker. I know Lukaku has that as well to some extent, but Lukaku doesn't have the touch and the technique that Haaland has. And Haaland is it's so crazy to think Haaland is born in 2001. Like that is insane. He's born in 2001. Do you know what I mean? That is insane. But we've spoken about Erling Haaland and Aguero and all of this for long enough already. Let's quickly, before we talk in more depth about West Brom, let's quickly talk about Timo Werner. Obviously, I haven't actually heard Ian's thoughts on the whole situation. I saw Lewis's tweets on it. Obviously, there was a lot going on about after this. Honestly, just dreadful miss against North Macedonia. Was a lot of people slating him, a lot of people abusing him, and then a lot of big accounts, won't necessarily name names, but a lot of big accounts went to his defense and, we've got your back, Timo, and this and that. And I'm like, this is not bad, but where was this energy when Tammy missed 3 very difficult headers against Spurs and everyone claimed that he missed sitters? When I'm like, bro, other than Drogba, no striker ever probably scores these headers. Maybe for Nistelrooy, but that's about it. And even that at the stretch, right? Where was the energy then? Why has this happened? Why have Chelsea fans turned into this fan base that support a 50 million euro, pound, whatever striker that has missed 17 of his last 19 big chances in all competitions? Why do we give him every excuse that exists, but Tammy Abraham will only be laughed at because he falls over? I'm like, well, I'd rather my striker fall over but score than miss every chance he gets. Like, I know it looks stupid, but at the end of the day, he's still meant to score goals, and Abraham scores more goals. And you can't even tell me he has more goal contributions and everything. Yeah, but Werner also has more than double the game time of Tammy Abraham this season. Mm-hmm. So obviously he's going to have more goal contribution. But again, let me just clarify this. This doesn't excuse and accept at all abuse. Don't abuse him. Don't insult him. Don't do any of those things. That's unacceptable from anybody. Although I will also say saying he's shit, that's not abuse. That's just saying he's shit. Like we can't let society be oversensitized when we say he's shit is abuse. Like, right? You know what I mean? Like I know obviously a lot of things happen, and rest in peace Claude as well. And I don't even want to put this on the same level. But saying he's shit is we cannot let that be called abuse, because at that point, all of what Ian does, what Lewis does, what I do, we can't do our jobs anymore. Because if we're not allowed to criticize anything or anyone anymore, then we might as well just get in the bin right now. Mm-hmm. Those are just my thoughts. Let me get to Lewis first. what do you make of what I said, and what did you make of the whole Timo Werner situation as a whole?
Like I said, personally, I give Werner till next season. I still stand by that because I got to a point of the season where I just expected we're going to have frustrating misses from him, and I'm not going to let another frustrating miss get to my head as long as it doesn't cost us a game, because it hasn't really cost us games. I'm trying to look for positives in it. I understand the situation with Tammy, and like seeing Tammy fans and Timo fans bickering on the timeline about who stands up for who whenever they get abused and everything like that. I've seen support for Tammy when he's been under bad form. I've seen criticism for him when he's been in bad form. I've seen praise for him in good form. Same thing for Timo Werner as well. We'll say Timo Werner always gets excuses. When he had that awful run in December, I'm telling you right now, he was not getting excuses. Everyone was saying he was playing like trash and he shouldn't have been playing on the left wing. So for me, it's just criticism always comes. And a lot of it was just because it was a situation where rival fans are mocking it and home fans can't even really sit there and back it because like that was a really bad miss. And it was so straightforward, man. It really was. Like, I back Timo Werner, but I also get really, really frustrated with some of the misses I see from him because it looks so... sometimes he really doesn't hit it well. He really has to do better. But the difference with Tammy and Timo is I rate Timo Werner's all-round game. Tammy Abraham's all-round game for me needs serious improvement. But at least Tammy Abraham has good positioning and can finish well on his strong foot. That's why Tammy looks good in certain areas, but he struggles all-round. Timo Werner doesn't struggle all-round. It's just his finishing is whack. If his finishing
Have you seen his touch, bro?
Bro, like when he's not confident, yes, but when he is confident, it's
but when was the last time we saw him confident? 4 months ago. Like
I remember the Liverpool game; he was having some great touches.
Okay, but that is a one-off game. He needs to do that.
I know, but we can go for a lot more where he's been out of confidence and his touch has been dead. Like he hasn't got like. You remember we were talking about Lukaku in his last season at United, and it's literally game after game after game of shocking touches. That's not it with Timo Werner. It just looks like confidence to me on that front as well.
I definitely see what you're saying, and the whole defending him and excuses. Obviously, that Tammy has people that abuse him, and Tammy has people that defend him. Hey, I'm one of the people that usually jump in and start defending Tammy, and I've said this multiple times, both on Twitter and on here. I didn't like Timo Werner before we signed him because he played for RB Leipzig, who I don't like. He was kind of known as a diving cheat in the Bundesliga. I generally don't like people like that in the first place. Then we sign him and I give him a chance, right? But because I have this predisposition against him, I have less patience with him. And I fully admit that. But I also don't think people should have a go at me for having a little bit less patience with some players than with other players. Like, hey, we all have our favoritisms in everything, whether it's football, whether it's anywhere, that's just how it goes, right? But the thing with Tammy is with Timo is you said, we were all saying he's dreadful because he's playing on the left wing. Yeah, but wasn't that an excuse in itself? We said basically everybody was blaming Lampard, don't play Timo on the left wing, or he's only bad because he's on the left wing. Wasn't that excuses in itself? Yes, we said he was awful, but we said the reason he was on the left wing. And now then he plays up front, and then the same excuses happen. Yet he's not a real striker. Then Tuchel started playing him in his perfect position, this inside left forward. And yes, he's been better. 100% agree. He was good against Atletico at home. He was good very good against Liverpool. Unfortunate not to get the goal given. He was good against Sheffield United in the league when he obviously won the penalty and assisted the goal. And he was also pretty good against Newcastle when he scored. Right? Those are 4 games that he was good in. And he had other games where he was decent enough. But he still only scored 1 goal in 14 games under Thomas Tuchel. 1 goal. And he's like, and why I don't think the comparisons with Tammy and even Giroud are fair is because he plays so much more than all of them. Like and I'm not even saying, I've said it before, I admit that, but not right now. I'm not even saying sell him, do this, he's done, whatever. But what frustrates me is that no matter how badly he plays, he always stays in the team. And that's what I don't think has been fair from Lampard and Tuchel, that Tammy has a bad half, is taken off at half-time. Hudson-Odoi comes on, doesn't play well for 20 minutes, is taken off again. But Timo Werner has shocker after shocker after shocker and keeps starting, and that's what I don't get. And that's what frustrates me. And I know I kind of portray that onto Werner when maybe I shouldn't, and I accept that. I concede that. But I still find it super frustrating. Do you know what I mean? Like, what do you think about that?
This is where I have the feeling that someone upstairs is saying, play Timo Werner. Maybe it's in the contract. Maybe it's something we don't know about. And again, we'll never be able to prove this. We never will. But that's the kind of vibe that I'm getting. In terms of, a lot of people hate me for how I hate on Tammy Abraham. And I don't hate him, but I'm more accepting of Timo Werner this year, only because this is his first year in the Premier League, where playing for Chelsea alone, this is Tammy's second. And I haven't really seen a hell of a lot of progression from Tammy last year to this year. I still see the same player. Certain things are better, certain things are worse. Again, this is just the kind my way of looking at it. I mean, for me, I remember Norwich away would have been like the third or fourth game of last season, right? Yeah. That is probably the last time I remember Tammy Abraham scoring from outside the box. Now, I might be wrong, and there might be a game where he's done it more recently, but the problem I've got with the Tammy Abraham thing is he still wants to score from inside the box. And although tap-ins are part of the game, I saw someone put it in there saying that tap-ins aren't acceptable. Well, they are, of course. That's because we're playing good football. Do you know what I mean? But if people know that that is all Tammy can do, they will give him the space to do that. But then they won't allow anyone else ever to get the ball anywhere to him. And it happens to be where Man City have been 3-0 up against us. We then scored with a great ball across from Hudson-Odoi. He scores a tap-in because they're 3-0 up. They don't give a shit about that at that point, you know. There's a little bit of a lapse of judgment. But we haven't seen that throughout, you know, rest of these games. And I think with Timo Werner, I mean, he's got electrifying pace. So even if he is not wonderful, it's something that the opposition have to think about. Where with Tammy Abraham, again, we've had a year of him doing this in the Premier League already. You still look at certain things and think, surely they're just going to allow Chelsea to keep the ball and not allow the ball to come in. Then Tammy Abraham ain't going to score a tap-in. So it's just tough. It's a tough one to balance. And I think, you know, again, it's a little bit more difficult with Tammy because he's in his contract year. He needs a contract. Otherwise, next year, people saying, oh, send him on loan. We send him on loan next year, he leaves on a free. That's the bottom line, because we are not going to sign him to a new contract of 180 grand a week. 180 million a week, that'd be great, wouldn't it? But yeah, we're not going to sign him to 180 grand a week contract for him just to then go out on loan and then we might sell him. It's just tough, you know. It's a tough situation to be in. And I think if Tammy Abraham was probably, let's say, a year younger and not in his contract year where he needs to go and sort something out, we would probably be looking at it very differently. But the circumstances are as they are. This guy is allegedly asking for 180 grand a week or even somewhere in that ballpark. And he's not playing like 180 grand a week player, even when he does come in and when he doesn't. Where at least with Timo Werner, he's only just got here. It's a new league. It's a little bit more accepting. And for me, and I think I'm the same as you, Lewis, next year I'm very much like, this is Timo's time to prove it. And if you don't prove it, then sorry, but you know, thanks for coming and buy. You know, I mean, Diego Costa had, 3 years for Chelsea when he played for us? 3 years, and that was it. And 2 of them, he was absolutely fantastic. And the other one, he was good, because obviously the rest of the team was shit that year. But Timo Werner, in 2 years, if he hasn't put in one good performance, then he's not going to be the same level Diego Costa is. And we moved on from Diego Costa in a heartbeat.
But Ian, let me just say the one thing. Doesn't it make a difference whether, even if it's your second season at Chelsea, he came from the Championship? Timo Werner came from the Bundesliga.
But he had also played in the Premier League before. He had played.
Yeah, but that doesn't count. It doesn't count when you play for Swansea. Like Timo Werner played for
it's a change of
fourth. He was fourth in the Golden Boot race in Europe, and he now can't score a tap-in because you're saying Tammy only scores tap-ins. Great, but Timo Werner can't even do that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's I can appreciate that.
But one last thing.
They
go on. Can play together because we know Timo don't play up top anyway. So it's not even this Timo versus Tammy conversation in theory. Obviously, then where do you put Havertz? I see that totally. But in theory, both could be on the pitch at the same time. They don't necessarily fight for the same position, right? I just don't think that the attitudes towards both has necessarily been fair. And I do still stand by what Lewis said. I give him a second season. Hey, I've said this multiple times. If a way of getting Haaland is giving Dortmund Werner, I'm up for that. Because
I would be
okay, I give him a second season, sure. I give him a second season, sure. But if that is the kind of edge that we have over other clubs trying to pursue him and Dortmund agreeing to the transfer, and that means Werner has to go and we get Haaland, I'm all for it. But that doesn't mean if he does stay, I won't back him next season. But the biggest thing is, for me, I just think his head just doesn't seem in the right place. Like
he is shot for confidence. He is completely and utterly shot for confidence, and that's the only way you can really see it. You know, I mean, because the one he missed the other night it's shocking. You know, it is. It's a bad miss, and I really hope that he comes good. I can't lie. We all do. Again, we're all here for Chelsea, but I'm the same as you. And I said it, and I can't remember whose live stream it was a few weeks ago. There's about 4 players I would not sell to get Erling Haaland, and the rest of them I would. And Timo Werner is not one of those 4 players. It's not one of those 4 players that I would keep. All the 4 players I would keep would be Havertz and Mount and a few other youngsters. But if Timo Werner's be the one that's got to make way, then so be it. But I just think what I say, and again, look, I want to give them both a chance. But the only difference is that maybe it's not necessarily Tammy Abraham's fault. Maybe it's the agents asking for a ginormous wage. Again, you don't know, and we're never going to be able to prove it. But it's a tough sell to be able to keep Tammy Abraham around for 180 grand a week when you could potentially get 40 million for him, potentially, I don't know, in a year where people are going to need centre forwards and a cheaper option of Tammy Abraham might be available. Because next summer, if we ain't signed a contract with him, he leaves on a free. Are we just going to walk away from?
No.
Like,
and
that's the only difference. I don't think
we're even having the discussion of what happens in the summer, right? I think it's more, like I said, for me, it's just the fairness of the fan base to both. And they're obviously the easiest to compare because Tammy has been criticised a lot after not playing well as a forward, and Timo has been less, in my opinion, criticised for not playing well as a forward. But slightly moving on from that, I will get to the super chats in just a second because, basically we move on to the games now, the games tomorrow now, because Thomas Tuchel in his press conference did confirm that Timo Werner would start. But my issue, and that's what I got to, something's not right in his head at the moment. For example, why does he even go for that with his weak foot against Macedonia? Just shoot with your strong foot, bro. But anyway, for me, he needs a bit of time away from the pitch. I think he needs to find himself, not feel the pressure, just leave him out. For me, but Tuchel clearly disagrees. That's why he's going to start today. And I do just quickly want to read out the super chats. Big up Blue Clouds TV saying, what up, guys? The reason is Timo's work rate on the pitch is more effective than the others, 100% compared to Tammy. Him and Mount are probably the highest working forwards we have, 100%. That certainly plays a factor. And another donation by Wendell saying, Timo cost a lot of money, so people are willing to be patient with him with the hope that he'll realize the potential that justifies his contract. I also agree with that, or not agree, but as in I understand what you're saying with that. My only counter argument to that would be players that cost us a lot of money and cost us a lot of money on transfers and transfer fee, they kind of annoy me even more because I'm like, you're making Chelsea look like idiots. Tammy Abraham not being good doesn't make Chelsea look like so much of an idiot. He's an academy product, We didn't pay 50 million for him being shit in the end, like happens, right? But if Timo Werner, who we paid 50 million for, is awful, we just look like mugs, and I don't like Chelsea looking like mugs. That's my simple kind of idea on that. If you guys have any thoughts on these two super chats in a second, I'll let you get to that. We're going to get to the game because we've been going for nearly an hour already, and we definitely need to talk through that quickly. But ladies and gentlemen, we have 260 people watching, so make sure you subscribe. We're on the road to 10k. Ian said we have to hit 10k by the end of April. So the more of you that subscribe right now,
we're doing it. I don't care.
Okay, exactly. So
you lot are liking it, bro. Smash the subscribe button.
It's happening.
Exactly. We're doing it. So subscribe right now and smash the like button, and appreciate all the super chats today. If you have anything else to add and you want to throw in and support the channel, do that. But let's get to tomorrow's game. Like I said, Timo Werner will start. N'Golo Kante is out because France. Cheers, Didier Deschamps. I hate you. We all do. Even though you played for us, clearly he hates us more than we hate him. I don't know why. I've come up with an idea. Maybe him and Desailly just don't get on, and Desailly likes Chelsea. So that's why Deschamps has decided to hate Chelsea now, because clearly he does. All he does is moan that our players play too much and not enough. And all that happens is they go on international duty and they come back injured every time. I'm fuming. So that's what we know, right? Thiago Silva is back fit. Tammy Abraham was reported by, I don't know how good the source is, to not be at 100%. So even though he's available, he's apparently still not 100% fit. So what are we thinking ahead of the game? If either of you, again, I'll go with you first, Lewis. If either of you have anything to add on the 2 super chats that we just had, please just add it. But other than that, what were you thinking ahead of tomorrow's game before we go through the lineups that we'd like to see?
Low-key, I'm worried that this could be a banana slip. We got a lot of players coming back from international duty with not a lot of rest, facing a West Brom side who have barely had any players go on international duty, and it's Sam Allardyce at a top 6 side. Like, if there was a banana slip, this one could be the banana slip. I hope not. And Chelsea, of course, have the capability and the quality to smash West Brom. I just think this is going to be a long grind, and plus 12:30 kickoffs. You already know about these ones. They're dead. Absolutely dead. We should
I think at home we're a bit better with the 12:30s than we are away.
It's only been Burnley that we faced on the Tuchel on the 12:30, right? Was there something else?
No. We played Southampton 12:30 and Leeds. The 2 times we dropped points was 12:30.
Yeah. Those 2. That's the ones I'm going off. But at least
those were both away. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
That was at home, wasn't it?
12:30s just stink.
Under Tuchel.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh right. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, 12:30s just stink regardless. But I just feel like a lot of wrong things are clicking in the right places, and I'm just thinking, maybe this is the slip. I really hope not. We should be able to beat West Brom. There's no reason why we shouldn't. But I'm not going to sit here and underestimate them either, because Sam Allardyce loves these sorts of games because he'll just suck the energy out of it. So go there, face the team we have to face, go beat them. But I think it's just going to be a bit of a grind.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that. Ian, what about you? What are you thinking ahead of tomorrow? It's one of those, I feel a little bit what Lewis is saying, but because we're at home, that's kind of edging me the other direction again. Because at home, especially on a Tuchel, well, obviously we drew against Man United, but every other game we won. So, can I really be that pessimistic?
It has got a potential banana skin all over it. It really does. I saw someone in the comment about Mount, about him playing all 3 games for England. There'll be a few players that have played all 3 games for their country. Mount, especially, I am his biggest fan, as you can clearly see. Don't play him. Just don't play him. He doesn't need to play this game. Have him involved, of course, but I just don't want to see him exert a hell of a lot of energy, because I know we're going to need the energy for, is it Wednesday night or Tuesday night? Wednesday. Massive game. Huge game coming up. And that can't be overlooked. So as much as I do want to sit here and go full strength and go and win the game and see you later, I don't know what's going on with Giroud. Maybe could he play? Timo Werner play left-hand side? I don't know what's going on with Havertz. Is he going to play up front? I don't know. So many different things that could potentially happen. But let's just not, especially, again, I've seen it more because I've been watching England for the last 2 weeks. Mason Mount was, I'm allowed to swear on this channel, Laurenz? I'm sure I am.
Of course.
Yeah, Mason Mount was fucked. He honestly was fucked after the Albania game. And he didn't do anywhere near enough against Poland. Even I'll say that. Because he picked up that knock and it was 50-50 whether he was going to be available or not. Don't risk it, because you've got a lot of big games coming up. And I don't like that this is the game that we could potentially drop points in. But if this is the game that we drop points in to then go on an unbeaten run from now until the end of or from then on till the end of the season, then maybe it's worth it. I don't like that, but there's just too many ifs, buts, and maybes. And I actually would have liked Tammy Abraham to play against West Brom because, obviously him being rested and didn't have to play anything in international weeks and whatever. Maybe that would have worked out nicely, but it's going to be tough. It really is going to be tough. All the players for me that weren't involved in an international break should really be looking at it to go, I should be getting in this team here. And there'll be a few, Chilwell played twice, I think, for England. Was it twice? Yeah, twice out of the 3 games for England. Maybe you could see Marcus Alonso come in or something. I don't know, a little bit more rested and whatever. But use the squad that we've got, because we have got a big squad. And even regardless of people being in and out and whatever, the size of our squad should be enough to beat West Brom.
Yeah, no, we should. And that's why it's partly because of the things you just mentioned of team players that played a lot. That's why West Brom are dangerous, because they don't have so many international players. So they had kind of rest, they had time to prepare, they had all of this stuff. But let's also knock it ourselves. They've been absolutely dreadful under Sam Allardyce. I mean, he was meant to come in and save them, and they've been worse than they were in the Slaven Village before. Not even just playing worse football, but also getting worse results. So, that's really not worked out for them so well. But in terms of who we will play tomorrow, before we get back into the Mount discussion, I'd say let's just go through the team that we'd like to see. We're presumably going to stick to the 3-4-2-1. I would strongly presume, right? So Mendy, presuming his tooth is fine, considering he just did an interview the other day. Oh no, that was actually a bit older. But he had obviously a tooth operation, which is why he didn't actually go on international duty. So presumably he had a wisdom tooth removed, right? But presumably he's fine. I mean, Tuchel didn't say anything about him not being fine, so he'll start, right? Centre-back 3. For once, because Thiago Silva is back, this is actually an interesting discussion to be had. Who starts? Because Rüdiger played all 3 games for Germany. Christensen only played 2, as far as I'm aware. Aspie obviously did not go on international duty. Zuma didn't play every game, but one of the games was all the way in bloody Kazakhstan. So man was flying all over the shop. So what do you reckon? Is Thiago Silva one where give him a game before Porto to get him into it again? Or just make sure he's fit for Porto, and that's why you don't start him tomorrow? What do you reckon? What should be our back 3 tomorrow, Lewis?
Thiago Silva has to come back into the lineup sooner or later. So I'm thinking maybe we go Silva in the middle.
Mm-hmm. He's going to say it, isn't he? He's going to say it.
Rüdiger on the left and Christensen on the right.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
But bro, Aspie was on international duty. So I think Aspie's guaranteed to start.
Oh, okay, then we'll put Christensen on the left.
All right, fair enough.
Man. He's getting in the lineup, man. Like he's been robbed one time this week already for Player of the Month. We're not robbing him twice.
Who even won Player
of the Month? Iheanacho did score 5 goals in 3 games. Like,
yeah,
nice, but nobody scored against Christensen.
Yeah, no. See, I will say this. Before now, I would have said Christensen can't play on the left because he never has for us. He did for Denmark against Austria, and we didn't have a shot on target. So clearly he's comfortable with doing that. First in the back 4, he was left centre-back of obviously centre-back 2, and then they switched to a back 5, and he was the left centre-back of a back 3. So with Simon
did he play left-hand side of a back 3 under Kante?
No, he was just in the centre.
Was he? Because I thought David Luiz was in the middle.
I think there was games at the start, like
it was
Spurs
before we signed David Luiz back.
Christensen on the left.
No, because David Luiz was definitely there.
But then after the Roma game, when we lost 3-0 and they had the big row and everything, it was just Andreas Christensen in the middle.
Yeah, that's exactly. So Luiz started, then the Roma game happened, so Luiz and Conte fell out a little bit. Then the Barcelona game happened, and then Christensen never played again, and it was always Luiz.
No. Luiz never came back for the rest of the season. It was still Christensen.
Oh yeah, no, you're right, because Luiz said a few times he would have left. He would have left had Conte stayed. Yeah, true. You're right. Yeah, so for me, I don't know. I don't know who to play, to be honest, because if Christensen is capable of playing left centre back, I would probably agree with that. I think Christensen will have to deal with the fact that he won't play against Porto, as much as I love him. I think Thiago Silva is set to play. Rüdiger will come back into the side, and Tuchel loves Aspie, and Tuchel loves playing Aspie, so he will keep him in the side, right? But for tomorrow, I'd probably agree with Lewis. What about you, Ian? Well, who would be your back 3?
I think I'd play Thiago Silva just to see what you've got. Do you know what I mean? Because we were saying, he's back and whatever, and we're going, oh yes. But let's just say, and again, we don't know this for a fact because we've got no idea, we haven't seen him. Let's just say that if he is back and he's absolutely woeful, if you were to play him against Porto, it's like, oh shit, are we going to make ourselves worse, actually? And I know, obviously, he is the AC Penitentiary, owner and warden and whatever the fuck else it is. But I probably wouldn't play him in this game because, again, it's only a credit to him because of how positive he could be against Porto. But I don't know. I think it's a tough one at the back. Dave's got to play. Dave has got to play. Maybe the argument is that Dave doesn't play, Thiago Silva does, Christensen goes on the right-hand side, because technically you've already got a leader in there.
You mean
Kante ain't going to play? Tomorrow? Sorry. Oh, no, for tomorrow.
Okay.
Because Kante's not going to play. because then it means you're going to have Jorginho in the middle of the pitch.
I just think because he didn't go on international duty, I just cannot see how Aspie doesn't start.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, but maybe Thomas Tuchel thinks something different. I don't know. Yeah. I for me, he starts. For me, then is Thiago Silva in the middle of the back three, and probably Rudiger again because he played 2 of the 3 games that we did.
He played all 3. I think he played full 19 all 3. I'm pretty sure.
To be fair, it's just with Christensen in there, I just worry about pace, and especially when they scored against
Mane half the time in that Liverpool match.
Who? What? Christensen?
Also, like West Brom aren't exactly going to hit us with a lot of pace now, are they?
Well, we say that, and the 3 goals they scored against us earlier on in the year, when they went 3-0 up before half time, all of them were scored on the fucking counter attack. So
one of them, maybe Thiago Silva shouldn't play against West Brom. Maybe let's not do that again.
yeah. Maybe he's the problem. Maybe that sorts everything. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's that. That's a debate. That is a real debate to have. And I think if you've got all of them available, you probably play Thiago Silva ahead of Christensen. But
yeah, no, I'd agree.
Yeah,
I'd agree.
I don't know. Again, but his performance has been great. So yeah, it's not an easy decision.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like I said, for me against Porto, it's what you said: Rudiger, Thiago Silva, Aspie. And then just because Rudiger played the 3 and you don't want to leave Christensen out for 2 because he's just been too good for that to be fair, play him left at the back. That would be my logic to it. And I think we do okay with that. I guess next we get to the wing backs. Like Ian said, obviously, Alonso didn't go on international duty, obviously. Chilwell started 2 of the 3 England games and came on in the other 3. I'm not sure. Started 2 of them regardless.
No.
Reece James only started 1 of them, but came on in the other 2, but not for that long. So what do we do about the wingbacks? Personally, I would go, because that is also a funny comment, interesting if Alonso started against West Brom, because obviously, just to cast your minds back, that's when him and Frank fell out, right? Obviously, the away leg of that. What do we reckon there? Let me go with you first, Lewis. How do you reckon we should do that? And just quickly, you're a funny man, bro. Like, how have you come to that conclusion then? It's just the manager of the month.
He's defo a troll.
He must be a troll, but it's so bad trolling. Like, it's not even funny. Like, it's just what?
No, we got this in the 0-0 draw against Wolves on the watch along. Trust me, they'll pop up out of nowhere.
They will. But what are you saying about the wing backs, Lewis? What were you telling me about those? Alonso?
Yeah, like this does feel a right game for Alonso, to be honest. He'll sit deep. 8 men behind the ball, allows us to push more attacking players forward. Use Marcos Alonso. It's the right game for it. He's thrived in these sorts of games. So, especially with Chilwell playing most of the game in the last international match for England. Yeah, I'm all for it. Play Marcos Alonso in this game. That's fine.
Yeah, I would agree. Even I, and people know my thoughts on Marcos Alonso, even I would play him probably, but I would play Chilwell against Porto. I know people might disagree, but I would.
That's the way. That's it.
And then on the right, Callum obviously had to pull out of the under-21 squad with England, who failed miserably, by the way. It's quite funny to me, as I'm not English. And also, like, the under-21s manager saying it's the most impossible job in the world. I'm like, have you tried being Chelsea, man?
To be very fair, could you really blame the actual players for not giving a shit about this tournament when they're all in?
But then don't call them up in the first place. Don't call
I know.
Don't call people like Callum up. Like, he's going to be fuming to be there in the first place.
I know, but yeah, fuck it. I still would sack him, but that's a different matter.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I don't want Frank to get that because that's just too much of a step down. That would be a bit embarrassing in my opinion. But on the right, I would start, just because of the level of opponent, I would start Callum at right wing back tomorrow. If his shoulder is fine, but he seems to be in full training and Tuchel didn't mention him to be injured. So I would go with Callum tomorrow and then Reece against Porto would be my logic. Agree with that, boys? Or?
Yep.
I would probably go Reece James. A bit more fresh. Probably.
Wait, Reece James for both games?
Yeah.
No, fair enough. I'm just thinking in terms of breaking West Brom down might be helpful.
Fair enough. I've got nothing against James playing there anyway.
Yeah, it ticks one half a dozen the other, innit? You know.
Yeah.
It doesn't make that much.
Yeah, it's one or the other. It definitely.
Yeah,
like I said, I just think maybe in terms of breaking a deep West Brom down, Callum might be a slight edge more helpful than Reece, just with that logic.
Yeah, maybe.
But then we get to the midfielders. Obviously, N'Golo Kante is out, like I touched on. Jorginho was not on international duty because he had a small knock. See, Roberto Mancini for Italy doing the opposite of what Deschamps does for France. And a player, he has a little knock. We'll be okay without him. Let me just not call him up. So now he's fully fresh and perfect. So Jorginho starts, whether you want him to or not, he will, let's be honest. The question is who starts next to him? Kovacic started 2 of the games for Croatia, came on for half an hour in the middle one. Was man of the match in the last one, by the way, even though he didn't score an assist, but still played a good game. What do we do there? There is 3 arguments to be made. Start Kovacic, start Billy Gilmour just to make sure Kovacic doesn't get injured ahead of Porto, or drag Mason Mount back into the midfield because we're playing bloody West Brom and we could just be very attacking, play Jorginho and Mount as a midfield too. What are we saying about that? Are we just saying Jorginho Kovacic and he'll be fine? Or what do you think, Lewis?
Depends on Jorginho, but apparently he's fit for the game. So I'd go for Jovicic. It's perfect for them as well because they're just going to be able to sit deep and be able to do their thing. Jorginho can sit back and dictate play. Kovacic can drive forward. Perfect partnership. And I want a telepathic partnership in midfield, especially when it's a 2-man midfield. So, yeah, Jovicic starts for me easily.
Fair enough. Ian, what about you? Obviously, Flyers has said here, Billy was good against Sheffield United in the FA Cup. Is he a shout? Just to make sure Kova is fine for Porto on Wednesday. Big up, Justice, by the way. Hope you're well, bro. But Ian, what you're saying? Midfield too.
Yeah, I think I'd go for Jovicic. He's probably not a sexy answer, and I'm probably not going to get a lot of debate out of it. But maybe you play Mount in that position, but I don't know if this is the game where you do it. Again, we're already saying about how difficult this game could be. It could be a masterclass from Sam Allardyce. You really don't know. They've had 2 weeks to plan for this. Yeah, I think I just go tried and trusted for this one.
Fair enough. No, I would probably tend to do that as well. But I would like to see it just chuck Mount in there. I would enjoy that because in terms of what you said, Sam Allardyce preparing, he probably didn't prepare for Mount playing there. So, maybe it's a shout. Like I said already, and because people always tell me I have an agenda and everything, Thomas Tuchel did confirm that Timo Werner will start in the front 3. Look who I went for as first goal scorer on Fifth Stand Up. I always go for Timo. No, because I'm like, I back him. And also, I kind of just have this little feeling, probably wrong, but I have it, that it's just, he's not going to score a hat-trick. Like, let's not kid ourselves. But he's going to somehow scrape a goal and help us win. And so, obviously, he starts left of the front 3, right? We were pretty convinced with that after Tuchel confirmed he'll start. Can't see him starting up top against a team like West Brom. That'd be very surprising to me. So what do we do about the others? Because we have a lot of players as options for those other 2. Well, in particular for the right inside forward role. We have Hakim Ziyech, who only played 1 of the 2 games for Morocco. In the second one, he only came on for the last 10. But obviously, it's a bit of a trip to Africa, right? Especially because their second game was away against Burundi, I think. Or was it at home? I don't know. But, a bit of a trek, right? So flights and that. But also, Morocco's last game, I'm pretty sure, was a couple of, on Tuesday. So he had an extra day compared to the teams that obviously played on Wednesday, right? You have Christian Pulisic, who did play the full 90 in both of USA's games, but the last one was last Sunday. So he had plenty of time to be fully fresh. And he had a good game in that too. He only scored from a penalty spot, but he was man of the match, played a good performance. So that is good. You have Kai Havertz, who, of course, could also play up top, but in theory also in that role, who played all 3 games for Germany, started all 3 games, always was replaced by Timo Werner in all 3, but still started all 3. And Mason Mount, who started all 3 for England, but at least only played the first half in the first of those 3, I guess. So what are we feeling about that second, call it number 10 role, Lewis? Obviously, we know Werner will start on the left. Who do you think starts on the right? Like Ian, do you think Mount just rest him? Do you think we'll go for Ziyech, Pulisic? What are you saying for that one?
Ziyech, I think, plays this one. Or maybe Pulisic. I could see Pulisic maybe being utilised on the right, but I've seen Ziyech play the majority of our games before the international break, so I could see us go with Hakim Ziyech again for this sort of match too, just for the consistency purposes. But it could be either of, because we've already said we're going to have Hudson-Odoi on the at right wing back, so with that in mind, I do think Mason Mount has to be rested for this game. Same way, wouldn't be totally surprised if he doesn't. Just because the amount of minutes Mason Mount's already played anyway. Like, I wouldn't be shocked to see him played anyway. And it wouldn't really make me feel any sort of way if he played in this sort of match. But if it's not Mount, it's probably Hakim Ziyech, because we know how much Tuchel prefers Christian Pulisic as a super sub. So I see that option being utilised more.
I see that as well. And I will say this before I get to you, Ian. If there is one player that is probably fine playing under these games, it is Mason Mount. Like, it's different who plays so many games. Some players' bodies are capable of it. Some players are not. And Mason Mount is probably one of the players that is capable of playing every game, every season. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously, who knows what happens to him by the time he's 30. But right now at 22, he is probably the most capable of anybody. But you said you would rest Mount. So who would be your right number 10? Also, by the fact in your team, you would start Reece James. So for you, even Callum Hudson-Odoi is an option there.
Yeah, I might play Callum Hudson-Odoi. I don't know if I would. I just had a look at who Morocco played, and their away game was to Mauritania in West Africa, not anywhere down south, so it's not too bad. Burundi was at home. Okay. So, yeah, maybe the travel's not that much of a difference for Hakim Ziyech. Maybe he plays... it depends on who you want to play up top. The comment just come in there. It depends on who you want to play down the middle. If you want to play Olivier Giroud, maybe, I don't know if he would in this game. I'm not too sure. Hakim Ziyech might be able to whip in some nice balls to him, whatever. We haven't seen it a hell of a lot at the moment, but I don't know. I think the big thing for me in this game is we need to start early. We really need to get going from the word go, because it could be a really nice position to be in if we are ahead. If we are just dragging this game, it then almost turns into West Brom are going to be very happy to take a point out of it. Where if we go ahead instantly, they have to come out and try and play against us, even slightly. But bearing in mind they're in a massive relegation fight, every point matters. And the longer it stays 0-0, we are going to just set it perfectly into their trap. So in terms of starting fast, this lineup here of Werner, Havertz and Ziyech, I think, would probably be the best one to go for. Pulisic, again, maybe comes off the bench. I don't know. But yeah, again, you could play Mount in that position. I personally would probably go for Ziyech, though, I think.
Yeah, that is fair. It's just, if we say because he played so much for England, that's why we should rest Mount. With that logic, we should also rest Havertz because he started all three for Germany. So, like,
I think Mount obviously got the knock as well and wasn't the same player after that second game.
That's true. He did have a little knock. That is true.
So,
I would probably tend to agree, just because Ziyech has been finding goal-scoring form, not necessarily form, but against the West Brom, where the tricky part for us will be actually scoring. Any player on the pitch that is in goal-scoring form, play them. And Ziyech is one of them. And he scored 2 big goals recently, so for me, you can bring him on.
And Havertz scored an international break as well.
Did he?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. So, Star Ziyech, I would probably agree with that. And then up top for me, it has to be Kai. Also, just quickly, in terms of Giroud, because people will definitely say, why not start Giroud against that type of opponent? I'm not sure how to judge Tuchel's comments on it. I only read them because for some reason the press conference wasn't broadcast today because the PL2 game was live at the time. But he basically commented Zuma and Giroud, they both obviously traveled so far from Kazakhstan, but Kazakhstan wasn't France's last game. They played Bosnia and Herzegovina in midweek. So I don't really know why Tuchel spoke so much about the travel to Kazakhstan, because that's a week ago. So I don't really know. But it didn't sound like Zuma or Giroud would start. Just the fact that he mentioned it, even if whether it makes sense or not, just the fact that he mentioned it doesn't sound to me like either of them will start. And for me, should be like that anyway. Just in case we need a late goal against West Brom, that's when I need Giroud to come on. That's not when I need Giroud to come off and bring someone else on. Against a team like West Brom is when Giroud is the perfect impact striker. So start Kai, bring Giroud on, is my thoughts. Lewis, what about you?
What was that? Bring Kai on and Giroud?
No, start Kai Havertz as the striker, false 9-ish, and bring Giroud on if we need a goal later on.
Yeah, I want to see Kai Havertz playing up front more. And to be honest, this would be a really good test to see how we'd work against a low block as well. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, we haven't played in false 9 against a low block yet, have we? We played in that deep a bit, but they weren't really as defensively minded as half the teams we played before that sort of game. There was Leeds.
And, Everton had 3 centre-halves on the pitch, but one of them was actually playing as a right-back. Or they tried to play him as a right-back anyway, where we had a bit of luck. So it's not.
Yeah, they had a lot of injuries for that game, didn't they?
Yeah.
There was Atletico Madrid, but they also had to start attacking too.
Also, in that game, you could argue that Timo was actually the striker and Kai played off the left against Atletico.
That's fair.
Yeah, there was a bit of an interchange in that match too. And yeah, like Havertz has looked the most comfortable when we played him the furthest forward anyway. So I've got no reason to take him out of that anyway. Like, I was already thinking Werner comes off on the left in this sort of match, and we have either a Mason Mount or a Ziyech on the right, Kai Havertz in the middle. If Havertz in the middle, I'd prefer to have Christian Pulisic more on the right, to be honest, but I still think maybe Ziyech starts. But yeah, Kai Havertz in the middle, all for it, because we've looked so much better with him in the middle compared to anybody else that we've had on the Tuchel so far.
100%. Ian, would you agree, or would you put Giroud in? I know you said initially you would actually like to see Tammy start. We don't know 100% on that fitness situation. And if he is fit to start, I wouldn't be totally upset if he starts just to rest Havertz after he played all three for Germany. But my preferred one would still to go with Kai. You as well?
Yeah, and again, energy is a big thing in this game. And obviously, take the lead, it's a lot easier for us, especially against a team that will have to come out and play. They have to pick up some sort of a point from us. It's not a case of it's this game, nothing comes from it, they're down, but at some point they've got to pull the finger out their arse. So I think for me, again, Tammy would have been great because you would have had the legs and you would have had a little bit more mobility, hopefully against West Brom, who are, they are bottom, aren't they? Are they bottom or second from bottom?
Second bottom.
Second from bottom. Oh, Sheffield, of course. Maybe you'd like to see, again, if he could do it at this level, then, if he can't do it at this level or against this kind of caliber of opposition, then maybe he's going to struggle to do it elsewhere. But yeah, you'd like to think whoever it is that's going to fill in is going to do the job. So I probably would just go play with the best man, which I do think will be Kai Havertz in this particular case.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I would just say this quickly before we get to score predictions and finish this off. Tuchel said he would start Werner. I've already clarified this. I would actually like to give Werner some time out of the team, and I would personally like to see a Pulisic, Havertz, Ziyech front three, Pulisic, Havertz, Mount front three. That's what I would personally like to see, or even Callum at left wing, but just for this one, I would go wing back anyway. But hey, he said Werner will start, so we'll have to go with that even for our teams, because it would be silly to say, oh, this is what I'd start, when Tuchel has already told us that guy will start, really. So that will be a bit silly. But just as the last thing we're going to do, score predictions. Score predictions. Let me go with you first, Ian. What are you feeling?
2-0.
Fair enough.
2-0. I think you just get one early and then make them come out and play against us.
That is fair. Lewis, what about you?
1-0. I think it'll be a really tough match. It'll be a grinder for sure, but Chelsea will win. It'll just be... I think we'll just take one of our chances, but I feel like it's going to be really hard to try and break down this West Brom side. They'll be really frustrating, but we should still win this game. So I'll go 1-0 Chelsea.
Yeah, I would actually agree with Ian. That's what I went for in the play predict. I would also say 2-0. Just feels like that a little bit. I just hope we don't take too long to get the first one. And then, we've been so good defensively. I would hope that we can deal with any threatened West Brom threat. As obviously, don't really want a Branislav Ivanovic headed goal. Don't really fancy that all too much. So hope that doesn't happen. So be sure to be solid on set pieces. Obviously, we have been recently, but still make sure. Let's not be beaten by any silly short corner, shenanigans, which was usually the one way we did get beat in whatever way. So yeah, 2-0 for me, 2-0 for Ian, 1-0 for Lewis. Let's hope we get the dub. That's all that really matters, because top four looks good, but it's everything but sealed. So we need to keep winning, and keep the more we keep the momentum going, the better it is anyway. Get a win tomorrow, then we have a couple of days off before we play Porto Wednesday, and just keep the ball rolling. Just keep the ball rolling and get as many bloody wins as we can, and then what Lewis has set as his title can come reality. Champions League winners 2021, FA Cup winners 2021. We make top four. We even just make 2012 even better, and that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. Just think positively, Ian. Think positively.
It's coming.
Everything's possible.
Jesus.
Hey, I'm living the dream. I'm talking it into existence. I don't care what anyone says. I'm talking it into existence. Ladies and gentlemen, I really do appreciate every single one of you that has tuned in. We still have 270 people watching. So if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe, because we're going to hit 10K subs by the end of April. So make sure you subscribe. Smash that like button. Check out both Ian's and Lewis's channel down in the description below. Click both of the ads. Subscribe to both of these guys. Help Ian reach 20K as soon as possible, and help Lewis get to 25K as soon as bloody possible. That'd be absolutely amazing. Again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. up the Chelsea. Really do appreciate every single one of you that has tuned in. And up the Chelsea. And I'll see you next time.